Hello and welcome to episode 4 of the ISO Ball podcast with your host, Derek Terrio, your place to learn about the NBA on and off the court. Welcome back on. I know we've taken a little break here as the playoffs have commenced. It's been some interesting series, some not. A couple, particularly game sevens there, that we can get into another time. But today we are going to speak about the Eastern Conference Finals, the preview for the Cavs and the Celtics. And there are a few talking points, and we're going to do a separate episode for the Rockets and Golden State as well. But this one is kind of less talking points on this one as compared to the Rockets and Warriors. So just wanted to get this one out before the game today at 3:30 on ABC. Um, in general, it's been a great road for the Celtics. A tough road, but a great road for the Celtics. I mean, didn't take a genius to know that they lost their two best players in Kyrie Irving and Gordon Hayward, but some of these guys, these high draft picks, are starting to pay off for the Celtics, and these guys like Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown have consequently come through, along with Terry Rozier and other contributors like Aaron Baines off the bench and things of that nature have really brought this team together as a whole. And its glue guy consequently also is not on the court, and because his glue guy is Brad Stevens. And Brad Stevens, as a coach, has really got the most out of this group. And this group, I think it's fair to say, has overachieved considering what they've put on the court for the majority of the season, and thus they're in for it against the Cavs. And this is not going to be an easy series for them. And so let's transition here into the Celtics portion of the breakdown. And I think the starters should stay the same. Rozier, Brown, Tatum, Morris, and Horford are my expected starters. Some things that I have noted here to watch for. Important to protect the home court. You have to come out with minimum a split, and you're praying that you come out with two wins here, because if you allow two wins on your home court, then you know what happened. You saw what happened to the Raptors, and I mean, you can argue that Boston is a better team than the Raptors psychologically and just all around from a coaching perspective and all of that sort of stuff. By the way, rest in peace to Dwayne Casey as a Raptors head coach. Hopefully they find someone better, but I doubt it. He was a great coach for the 7 years of the Raptors. But back to the Celtics. It's going to be important for them to keep that home court, because you can't let LeBron get an upper leg on the series. Like, the way I look at it is, if you lose game one and LeBron wins game one, even if you win game two and game three, LeBron can still come back on his home floor and outplay you for game four. And so that's the way I look at it, is if he wins game one, he doesn't have to win again till game four, and this can still be a series he can be under control of, in my opinion. So that's the interesting thing here, is that you're so undermanned that every little win counts in the series. And so I really think it's going to be important for them to get those two wins, and at minimum a split. And obviously they're going to have to win in Cleveland at some point if that's the case as well. I don't know why I didn't start with this, but defending LeBron, like, there is really no good game plan for LeBron James. I mean, if 29 teams tried it and 29 teams have failed, like, clearly nobody knows how to do it. So I'm not going to sit here and pretend like I know how to defend LeBron James, but I'll just give you probably some of the Celtics strategic points of view that they'll probably want to look at, or will look at, and to keep your eye on today and throughout the rest of the series. Primarily the person guarding LeBron James. So primarily, I would want Marcus Morris guarding LeBron, and mainly because Tatum is a little bit light. He's really not that heavy, not that sturdy in the post. Maybe can move his feet on the perimeter, but LeBron, much faster, much stronger, will go right by him. Jaylen Brown has not shown too much success in past series guarding LeBron James, and not to say that maybe he doesn't get another crack at him, maybe for a couple odd possessions, but you want him really scoring the ball. And so to ask him to defend the best player in the world and go get buckets shot for shot with the best player in the world, a little bit, obviously he has help in the rest of his supporting cast, but it's just a little bit too much to ask, in my opinion, for Jaylen Brown. So I wouldn't necessarily have him on him. Marcus Smart is another interesting guy. Now, Marcus Smart is one of these guys that is going to play rough every possession. This is a guy where you can actually put him in to specifically defend LeBron James, and he doesn't have to get buckets on the other end. Like, Marcus Smart is not necessarily a scorer by any means. He's a non-shooter, I would say, and the only really value he provides is his hustle plays, and we'll get into that as another key for the Celtics soon. And his ability to as a spot up shooter a little bit too, if he doesn't have to take them off the dribble, but just with the ball in his hands, he's not bad at creating plays and stuff like that too. But in terms of defending LeBron, he's only about 6'4", and strength and pound for pound, he's not going to match up, but he's one of the best options they have to throw against him, just because he Marcus Smart, he almost like does this thing where like he backs up and he gives you all of his strength on your first post move. Like let's say like LeBron's in the post and he takes a strong dribble. Like Marcus Smart will take it like on the chest, the first one really tough, and then that second one he'll act like he'll have the second dribble, he'll act like he'll have no bones, and then absolutely just go flying on the second dribble. And a lot of the time, because of Marcus Smart's reputation, they'll give that offensive foul. So that's probably something to look out for. Is Marcus Smart going to pull that flopping BS on LeBron in hopes that maybe he gets him in foul trouble early, and thus maybe they can take advantage of that down the stretch. So just something to look for. But in general, I predict that Morris and Smart will be the primary defenders, and then your secondary defenders will be probably Jaylen Brown, like I mentioned. Again, from odd possessions, you don't want him primarily on him. Al Horford, who maybe can do a good job against him in the post. Maybe his length might bother LeBron a little bit. And then another guy maybe you could watch for to throw on LeBron too is Semi Ojeleye. But the problem with Semi Ojeleye is, yes, he's strong. Yes, he's got the height, but he is a rookie, and he's a big liability on offense. So that's going to be tough to have him out there consistently without LeBron actually spotting that out and saying, okay, well, we're going to leave. So let's Semi shoot and just help off him instead of everybody else. But yeah, like I said, can't ask Brown or Tatum to score and defend LeBron. I mean, both have been ineffective against LeBron relatively. Like one of the strategies I would employ is maybe when LeBron gets those baseline post ups, he gets those a lot now. I know he got a lot on that right block against the Raptors, or on that right baseline against the Raptors. He'll dribble, and he'll look for where the help comes. But if you actually employ like that help the helper concept, where you're actually moving, and Brad Stevens is good at this. You see this on his defensive sets, where you have these guys in communication, and they almost move on a string on defense. You can actually anticipate LeBron's out of the double pass by knowing ahead of time where you expect your double to come from, and then in concert rotating there. So I think, again, the Boston defense being as good as it is, that's probably something that is going to be important to them, is being able to move on a string on defense, because playing 4 defense of guys against LeBron and knowing where he's going to pass is much different than having to be able to guard your own guy and then stunt back, etc. So I think it's going to be important for the Celtics to move on a string against LeBron and really make all 5 guys defend both the ball and their man. And pick him up 92 feet. I listened to something interesting, just I guess in passing on YouTube, where CJ McCollum was talking about, look, guys pick up 92 feet. They know they're not going to turn you over. They know they're not going to get the steal, but they make everything tough for you. They make every little piece of minute and second that you have on the floor work. So that's what they're going to have to do with LeBron. I mean, that they're going to have to tire him out. And he's gotten 3 or 4 good days of rest here in lead up to this series, but I mean, this is something you're going to have to do if you're Boston. You have to be dedicated and disciplined enough to make sure that you're throwing bodies at him and he's seeing a body at all times, even when he's in his own backcourt. Like, it's just that important to pick him up. And also on defense, like, he may not be bad on defense, but again, making him work and forcing him into mistakes or having him to make decisions is probably a lot better. Like involving him in screening actions. Like, I know maybe they're going to switch a lot of those if they come off those floppies and stuff like that along the baseline, or those dribble handoffs, but just doing anything to try and make him work, involving him in the pick and roll, anything that you can do to make LeBron work on defense is going to help you, even if he's not asked to guard the ball, which is actually preferable if you're asking the Celtics point of view. The scoring for the Celtics, where is that coming from? I mean, this is LeBron James. Like, you're going to have to score with LeBron James. So is it going to be Rozier, Tatum, Brown, Horford, maybe somebody off the bench, maybe the whole bench? Like, you're going to need it every night. And it's tough if you're the Celtics to do this against LeBron James, because none of these scorers are experienced. They have some. The Cavs have some defenders that they can throw at these guys, but a lot of them are really kind of undersized. And let's remember, Cavs defense is not actually that good. So this would be the Celtics scores time to shine. I mean, if they can really commit to the offensive principles that Stevens has in place, and Rozier can have some of those games along with Tatum, Brown, and Horford. I mean, again, you're going to need it on most nights, but if you can get that, then you have a real chance to win. But the thing that I think is going to separate the Celtics in trying to win this series, and I alluded to it earlier, is the energy. The energy will be big. Like, they are clearly underdogs in this series, but the one thing that they can control is the amount of effort. If you watch that Indiana series, they were scrappy against the Cavs. Like, I can't count the amount of times that Darren Collison was on the floor for loose balls in games where they were up like 15 and this crazy sort of stuff. And that sort of discipline took them 7 games, along with the great play of Victor Oladipo. But that scrappiness was, to me, almost an identity for Indiana in that series, on defense and off of loose balls, even just good offense. Like, just everything that they did just came with energy. And I think that if Boston can keep that consistent, that is one of their bigger chances to win the series. And again, one of the controllable aspects that you can have. Again, this Cavs team is relatively old and hasn't really shown much effort on defense as we've seen throughout the year, even though there's been almost 3 iterations of this team. The defense really hasn't been there for me against, other than against the Raptors. But oh my goodness, let's just not even talk about that. All right, moving on to the Cavs. So the starters I anticipate for the Cavs, I should say, is Hill, J.R. Smith, Korver, LeBron, and Love. It's kind of interesting. Korver maybe not necessarily equipped to guard Tatum, and JR maybe not equipped to guard Brown, but I think the Cavs will probably prefer to match up Tristan Thompson with Aaron Baines off the bench and just kind of go at a rebounding battle there. And then Love and I think Horford will be out on the perimeter defending Love a little bit. Horford's shown a little bit of that versatility, so no problems there. But Love is definitely going to be at a disadvantage against Horford in the post and in the screening actions when he comes up for the high pick and roll, etc. So that's something to look for as well. Things to watch for the Cavs. Just forcing Boston to make decisions. Like, that lineup of LeBron, Korver, JR, Love, and Hill or Clarkson makes it hard to double off of the shooters when LeBron posts up or gets a touch on the block, because any double you come from, and again, I talked about the counter that the Celtics can use to this, which is moving on a string, but LeBron is just picking you apart. He knows where the ball should go based on what defender is running at him. So he doesn't even have to actually know where the open guy is. He just knows who's running at him and where that guy should be. And like, that's just the genius of LeBron James, and we've seen it. There's no reason to describe it any further than that. And forcing Boston to switch on defense, which they may not want to do, i.e. Horford onto LeBron on the perimeter, or Tatum in the post. Those things LeBron is very savvy about, and he'll know exactly when he's got a guy that he prefers on there. And then you'll see, there's times where every time LeBron catches the ball, you just look at the other 4 guys on Cleveland, like, what's going on? And for example, in the Toronto series, there was a lot of backcuts, a lot of split post action with Love and Korver, where Korver would be going backdoor, and I saw Kyle Lowry got beat a few times in that series on those plays. But there's some times where nobody moves. Nobody moves on that weak side, and that's how you know, here comes the LeBron fadeaway. Here comes the LeBron back down, or he's going to the line, or something along those lines. So just take a look at that. That's how you'll know what LeBron is seeing on the court, kind of from his perspective as well. And as I mentioned, from the Celtics as well. Like, what are you going to get from your others? Like your Loves, your Korvers, your JRs. Even is Cedi Osman going to be able to play a role? Are you going to get something from Tristan Thompson? Like Jeff Green, is Jeff Green going to finally do something in this series? Like, we'll have to see, and that's going to be important to make sure that the Cavs kind of push this. I should say, make this series close in terms of number of games, because they're going to need all the rest they can get against the Warriors or the Rockets. And again, we'll preview that series tomorrow, as that will be up. And LeBron finally just taking advantage of the inexperience. Again, like I said, forcing post-ups to Brown and Tatum, maybe making them draw early fouls, takes them off the floor on offense, and then now you're limited as Boston as what you can go to on offense because of the foul trouble. I mean, it's just so tough for Boston. Like, they're such a deep team, but even they right now, and even Daniel Tice is another loss for them, with between Kyrie, Hayward, and Tice, like those are three really key guys, two starters, two almost all stars, and when am I seeing almost all stars? Both of them are all stars, and a nice piece in Daniel Tice off the bench. Like those guys are a big part of their depth that just got cut. So even though this team has a ton of it, like they're reaching for it now because they're up against the best player in the world, and they're missing three key guys for them. So very very tough for the Celtics, and overall, just to wrap up, Boston to me is just outmatched. This team, the Celtics team, has overachieved all year without Kyrie and Gordon Hayward. To me, there's just too many questions about where the scoring is going to come from and how they're going to defend LeBron. He has the pedigree. You've seen him in these playoffs. He's been unbelievable, and so that leads to my conclusion of Cavs in 5. So thanks for listening on. Be sure to take a listen to this pod before the game or throughout. Before game one or throughout the series. Just take a listen and kind of listen into some of those points and see if any of those come true. We will also be I will also be releasing the Rockets Warriors preview pod tomorrow as well, so you'll be able to listen to that before the game. Yeah, thanks for listening on, and yeah, this should be an exciting Eastern Conference and leading up to the finals. Have a good one.